Hi everybody, I'm Dr. Kimber. I'm a naturopathic doctor and I'm excited to be with you today. Today we're going to talk about a really hot topic, grounding. It's one that I'm hearing more and more about in my practice, and as I kind of dive into it a little bit more with patients, I'm seeing some really cool things. So what is grounding? We're going to talk about some of the benefits of grounding and give you some suggestions on ways to make grounding possible or a part of your daily habits. So before we get started, I'd love to find out where you're listening from. And I'd love to find out if you have tried grounding before in your life and what your experience was with it. So, what is grounding? Grounding is also known as earthing, and it's making a direct conductive contact with the earth, between your body and the earth's surface. So, this can be done through things like just walking barefoot on the soil, on the ground, on the grass, at the beach, in the sand, in water. It's really about anything that's connecting you to the earth. And it's about connecting to the earth's electrical charge. Okay, so what does all that mean? So the earth has a subtle negative charge with an abundance of electrons on its surface. And these electrons are constantly replenished by things like solar energy, lighting, and just the earth's molten core. So those negative charges in the earth, when we touch it, because we can be full of positive charges, and those come in us through just the EMFs in the air, like from anything that's plugged in, from your cell phones, from the towers, all of that. So our bodies can have this abundance of positive charges. And so when we directly connect with the earth, there's a kind of a balancing that happens between the negative and the positive charges. So our feet connect to the earth, there's that balance that happens. We can think of this as like vitamin G. Now, those of you that I work with as a patient, I also use vitamin G as gratitude therapy, but I like to think of this vitamin G as grounding. Vitamin G as in grounding and the benefit of that into our bodies. So think for a moment, if you've gone on vacation, maybe to the beach, and you walk around barefoot on the sand, you spend time in the ocean. Oftentimes, I have said, and I've heard you say as well, that you're so relaxed and you sleep better than ever, and you just feel so good. Have you ever thought about the connection there with the fact that you're grounding and how healthy that is for your body? Okay, so that's a little bit of a connection of what grounding is. Now, I'm going to be honest. When I started diving into grounding, I thought, okay, is this really legit? Like anything else, I started getting lots of ads, started reading lots of different things, and I'm like, seriously, is this really legit? And then I had several patients just willing to try it. They also had just dove into it, the study of it. And so what I saw in my patients was really eye-opening. I had patients who had not gotten their cycles, women who had not gotten their cycles for a long time started grounding. They started getting consistent cycles. I have a lot of patients that try grounding or for pain, and their pain was so much better. I've had other patients try it for stress, just because they are just so wired but tired at night and just had a very hard time sleeping, and they were sleeping better. So I thought to myself, there must be something to this grounding. Now, I myself got they're called grounding rocks. It's in a little bag and it sits on my bed. And I can say that I noticed right away as well that I was sleeping much better. So for me, that was my personal experience, but I can tell you what my patients were reporting back to me on, which was really even a bigger amazement. So why do we need this grounding in our bodies? Well, like I mentioned, we are inundated with electromagnetic fields, and also known as EMFs, and that really causes a lot of positive electrons in our bodies. The other thing is that we just are not in the habit of grounding anymore. We wear shoes which have soles that separate us from our bodies from the earth, and so we don't absorb like we did, especially as adults. As a kid, you're running around barefoot oftentimes, but as adults, we don't tend to do that as much. We sleep in beds that are uplifted off of the ground, so we don't get the advantage of that grounding through our beds. We are constantly spending time indoors. Many people work in high-rise buildings, so we're even that much more removed from the ground. And again, just the constant exposure that we have with electronics. I mean, driving now. Like, have you ever thought about if the whole satellite went down, our cars wouldn't hardly run because everything is so electronically driven? I mean, that's not to mention our life. If your power goes out, are you able to even, you have to really think twice about what you can use. So we're just inundated with all of that, and we've separated ourselves from grounding. So it would make sense that this disconnection causes a lot of stress, internal stress in our bodies. And also, it can be very overlooked in our daily, day-to-day practices and when working on our optimal health journey. So, if you're struggling with a chronic health condition, I would strongly recommend that you consider grounding, bringing that in as part of your daily lifestyle habits and things that you change. The best news is that there's a lot of things that you can do to ground, get yourself outside and ground. Let's talk about some health benefits, all right? So, anti-inflammatory effects to grounding. Inflammation is the root of most chronic illness. We know that. We've heard of that. It's kind of a simple answer, but it can be a really tough thing to get a hold of in our bodies. Grounding has been shown to reduce the cardinal signs of inflammation, things like redness, heat, swelling, pain, loss of function. So like I reported a little while ago, some of my patients who really struggle with inflammation and a lot of pain, they really found that there was a tremendous difference once they started grounding. And again, this happens because the free electrons from the earth act as natural antioxidants in the body, neutralizing those free radicals that cause that inflammation. Another one is improved sleep. I myself saw that when I put my little grounding bag of rocks on my bed. Studies have shown that grounding does significantly or can significantly impact improved sleep. So you fall asleep faster, you wake up fewer times during the night, which I know for many of you is a huge issue. You experience deeper, more restorative sleep, and you just wake up with more energy. So again, grounding, what is grounding doing? Well, it's helping to normalize those cortisol levels, which is your stress hormone that can cause that wired and tired type of feeling, that can cause your blood sugar to rise and you just to really feel like you can't get into that good restorative sleep. The other thing that it does, it's showing to do is cause an uptick in melatonin production. So melatonin, if you remember right, is a natural hormone in our bodies that when it rises, helps our body to rest and relax. Okay, so another one is pain reduction. Now, again, it's kind of right in line there with anti-inflammatory, but I have had patients use this for back pain, chronic pain, muscle soreness, joint pain, all kinds of situations like that. And it's been amazing to me to see the pain reduction lower for these particular patients. So if you haven't tried it, it certainly might be something to try and to see how your body responds to it. You know, cutting down that inflammation, cutting down that pain, cutting down the stress that comes from inflammation and pain. Another one, and this would explain why some of the ladies that I work with have more regular cycles, is that it improves the blood flow and viscosity of your blood. And so what that means is that it thins the blood and it improves the spacing between the red blood cells. So this in turn improves the circulation throughout the body. Again, helping to balance those hormones. Some people have reported that they will wake up feeling like they have improved skin appearance because there's better blood flow that's been happening. So I find that very fascinating and something that we can't ignore, especially when I'm seeing this happen with some of the patients that I am working with. So in addition to, the anti-inflammatory, improved sleep, improved blood flow, and pain reduction, other things like stress reduction are some of the things that we're seeing. Grounding has a very calming effect on the nervous system, and it shifts the body from a sympathetic, which is a fight and flight mode, into a parasympathetic, which is a rest and digest mode. So, some of the other things that I'm seeing out there about grounding, things like helping wound healing. So if you are a diabetic and you're struggling with wound healing, this is definitely a route that you want to consider going. Just giving you more energy, enhanced muscle tension, relief, just, various things like that. So is grounding something that maybe is the next thing that you try? Possibly it is for you. The nice thing is it's not a terribly huge investment when in all consideration. I mean, there are ways that you can ground that cost you nothing. So let's kind of dive into that, because I really want you to know that it's not hard to do. It just takes some consistency, and it just is a part of pulling it back into your daily lifestyle. So, some natural ways that you can ground. Well, first of all, walking barefoot on the grass, on the soil, on sand. Those are ways that you can easily go outside right now and ground and practice grounding. So just spending time out there. Spend time just sitting or lying directly on the ground. Just get your body directly on the ground. We're so used to comfort measures, and so we have little lounge chairs and we have other chairs that keep us up off the ground. I mean, challenge yourself to get on the ground and allow your body just to ground. Garden with your bare hands in the soil. Again, we tend to want to take all kinds of protective measures to guard ourselves from dirt under our nails or sun on the back of our hands. But I'm telling you, if we can just get back to some of those traditions that centuries ago our parents and not our parents, but our ancestors were doing centuries ago, there's health benefits into that. Now, how long do you do? Well, you can aim for 30 minutes. That is when you can start to show some effects of that grounding. You can start to feel your body calm down and relax, and your whole mind shift can set. But aim for maybe 10 to 20 minutes a day. Just getting outside 10 to 20 minutes a day, and do some work outside. Take your computer outside if you're used to sitting at a desk. Do things like that. The thing is that consistency, like anything else, is the key. So being consistent in that, practicing regular sessions outside, grounding sessions outside, that's where the difference is going to happen. Now, there's some of us, like today, for me, I live in the Midwest, and I have 4 seasons, and it has been way too cold, and it's just pouring rain out today. So, the weather causes me not to be able to get outside. So if you have limited outdoor access, and for me it's the weather, for some of you, you just live in the city where concrete acts like a conductive, and so it's not really you're not gonna be able to ground as best on concrete. So maybe you need to look into some alternatives, bringing that grounding indoors. So some things that you can look at: grounding mats. They can be used under your feet while you sit at your desk. You can sit on them on your chair. You can use them to again, just sit down and spend some time in meditation or devotions, or doing exercises, stretching on these grounding mats. It basically plugs into a grounded outlet, or basically directly into the earth. So that's how that grounding mat works for you. There's also grounding sheets and grounding mattress pads. Now, I will tell you that my patients, for the most part, that I have mentioned already, that have seen some physical health benefits, have all used either grounding sheets or mattress pads. So just to kind of put that in perspective for you. But basically, you use those while you're sleeping. I mean, technically, you should be getting 7 to 10 hours of sleep. And so 7 to 10 hours of just grounding is incredibly beneficial to your body. Then there's grounding bands and grounding patches. Those are some other things. So you can be more specific of where you want to use those. So lower back pain, maybe you want to use some patches or a banding belt to put around your lower back to really help with the positive electrons that are causing the oxidative damage in that area. So there's also things like grounding footwear. So if you really don't love going barefoot outside, I would be one of them. I don't love being barefoot outside. There's some grounding footwear that you can actually purchase that actually still connects you to the earth. There's grounding socks that you can get. So there are other options. These are a few of the very most common ones that you can find and bring into your daily lifestyle to really help get your body into that optimal space. Again, if you've really struggled with some of that chronic stress, chronic pain, inflammation, things like I can't even think of anything else. Oh, sleeplessness, not being able to sleep. Then these are the directions that maybe you want to go into and really look into. Again, they're not astronomically expensive. They're not $20, which I know for many people can be out of the budget. And I'm sensitive to that. I've been there. But they aren't $2,000 or even $1,000 even at that. So there's things that potentially you can work into your budget by cutting out maybe a cup of coffee a week, a foo-foo coffee, which maybe we should cut out anyhow, those types of things. All right, what to expect. So I will say that many people, myself included, when you lay on a grounding mat, you can feel like a warm, tingling sensation, kind of a feeling of relaxation, some pain relief. You might see better sleep at night. So those are all some of the things that you might experience even for that short time just laying on that mat. As a matter of fact, in the instructions, if you get like grounding sheets, you're going to find that they'll say maybe not to jump in to a full night's sleep the first night, maybe to try it out, laying the sheet on the bed halfway through the night or an hour later, taking the sheet off. Obviously, you wouldn't make up your whole bed then, but take that off and just gradually introduce it into your body. Other people have just gone for it and worked through it, but they have talked about and reported, many of my patients have said what amazing night's sleep that they actually had. Some of the other benefits that you might find is that you have mood. Your mood improves. Again, your energy is improving. Your chronic conditions are no longer chronic anymore. Your skin appearance is much better. So these are things we can't ignore. The science makes sense. The earth is negative ions, our bodies are positive ions, and coming together creates this beautiful balance in our body. Also, we call it vitamin G, vitamin grounding, and bringing that grounding sensation back into our bodies so that we can experience what we experience when we go to the beach. When we walk barefoot, we go into the ocean, we spend time outdoors, lying directly onto the ground. And then we have that calming, comfortable, vacation-like feeling, and our sleep is fantastic. So I'd love to know if you've ever grounded. Do you do any kind of grounding? In the comments, let me know. Now, I talked about some chronic health issues. If that happens to be you, if you are listening and you're struggling with chronic health issues, all the tests have come back normal, but you still feel lousy. Something's not right. Your inner world, your inner self is telling you you are not healthy. Then please reach out. I'll put a link in the comments so it's easy for you to reach out and let's have a discussion. Let's discuss what is going on and what steps we can take to helping you feel your best self and living your optimal life. This month on my social media channels, I'm going to be talking about stress and stress reduction ways the entire month. I really encourage you to follow along if you've not done so already. It's a great opportunity for you just to hear some things you probably know and hopefully hear some things that you didn't know and really strive to live a stress-free life. I love being here with you, and I encourage you to continue to be a part of these Wellness Wednesday live opportunities for us to come together. Remember, if you have any questions whatsoever, pop them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. Stay healthy, live happy, and do your very best to just be a blessing out there in the world. Thanks for joining. Bye, everybody.